I will share my screen. Can everybody see the screen? Thumbs up if you can. Great. Okay. So this is our holiday version of our maker training. It'll be all of the regular information plus a little bit catered towards having a group conversation. And then I'll also show you how to stamp 2 words, because a lot of times that's how it goes. And if you want to use the chat box, feel free. I have it pulled up here as well. So if you have any questions, just ask, and then I'll try to get to as many questions as I can. I'm sorry if if I skipped your question, just ask it again, and I'll be able to see it as it scrolls up. So we'll talk about who we are at MyIntent, who is a maker. I'll share some Thanksgiving stories that makers have shared from the past Thanksgiving. Our word finding technique, I'll go through stamping, and then I'll go through a couple of resources that I think is just so important as makers at the very end. It'll only take a few minutes. So at MyIntent, our mission is to be a catalyst for meaningful conversations and positive actions. And so what this means is that the conversation is the gold. It's what makes us special and unique, and that connection that we have with another person. That's what is the thing that is worth fighting for. And from there, from having that conversation, right, having that meaningful conversation is a ripple effect, because we find our words and then we live by those intentions, and then those intentions turn into action. And then what one kindness that you can show one person, then it ripples into that kindness that person shows to another person. And so we like to say that we're not a jewelry company, but that we're a service project, because you have your maker kit, which is the tools to create that tangible reminder of that conversation that you had. And so it's a little bit cheesy, but I love it. It's more about the conversation than it is about the actual motions of it. So what is an intention? An intention is truly, I know a lot of people have their words, some people haven't found their words quite yet, but it's a mentality, a state that you want to live your life in. And so something that we like to say is that just as your watch tells you your time, your bracelet and your word reminds you what to do with that time. Who is a MyIntent Maker? You are, and me, and our community. At the core of all of this is that conversationalist, to be able to have the courage to go up to someone and ask, hey, what's your word? And to open and be vulnerable in that way. It's also to be an active listener. And so we are always asking questions, allowing our curiosity to sort of take center in this conversation, and to be curious about that other person, and a guide for those people who haven't found their word. We're asking big questions. What's your word? How do you want to live your life? What's a virtue that you want? And so it could be something that people haven't really encountered before, and so we're sort of that first layer of that. And a community builder. So just like this session with everyone here, like this is our community, it's also every person that you've talked to asking their word, because our tokens are small and our bracelets are small, but they're very distinct looking. And there have been a few times where I'm just going to the store, or I am traveling through an airport and I see someone with the bracelet, and like before, when traveling was a thing, I'd be like, oh my gosh, what's your word? And we would have a really short conversation, but it was just something that was, it connected us. And so I just wanted to share that. So these are stories from past, or makers from past Thanksgivings, um, sharing how they used it with their family. And so this first story is by a maker named Sarah, and she purchased the maker kit for Thanksgiving. And the conversation cards got everybody sharing sweet, funny, and thought provoking memories, including one of her mother in law meeting Oprah. And that's something that they didn't know about. And so I feel like this is the beauty of having these question cards and bringing this activity to your family, is that I have at least like a very distinct relationship with my parents and with my siblings. And so having these questions that we don't normally ask each other kind of gives them aspects of like, they're my mom, plus they're a whole person who lived a whole life before me, you know? And so it just gives a little bit of perspective, and it also gives them a chance to share a part of them that they may not have wanted to or felt like they could before. So I thought that was really cool. This maker, Amy, so her family had been going through a rough patch for the last couple of years. And so she got the maker kit so that they can sort of reconnect as a family. Because she's like, this is the activity to get us talking again and to bring us to be the family we were meant to be. And so sort of becoming that bridge again for to hear each other and to listen. And so I thought that was really special. And maybe it's not as positive, but it is in a way, because it's reaching out and always trying to be there for one another and support. And this last story, if you are an older maker who has like a kit from before and you used it for like this person, Heidi, this maker Heidi, she had it for her team at work, you know, team bonding, team building, which is awesome. And then she decided to bring it to Thanksgiving to do with her family. And then it was so popular at Thanksgiving that she decided to bring it to Christmas. And so I feel like this was the perfect success story of the maker kit bringing all different sort of lanes of our lives together, and sort of sharing that with everyone. So how to help someone find their word. This is the meat. This is the juicy part of being a maker. And so all of this information comes from Chris Pan, our founder. He wrote a blog on this. And so I'm just going to go through sort of my experience as well as his tips. So before you begin having this conversation with someone, make sure that you get yourself ready. And just like we took this collective breath beforehand, it's to check in to see where you are, making sure that, you know, you're present, that you're here in this conversation, no matter who you're talking to, whether it's a stranger or someone that you know really well, that you're allowing yourself to see this person in this moment that you're having this conversation with them, and to find and connect with your why. You know, why do you want to have this conversation with them? And then to be open. So for me, it means to allow yourself to be vulnerable in this connection, because sometimes that's the permission that people need. That's the permission that people need so that they can get vulnerable and so that they can open and share. You don't always, some people don't necessarily need it, and they just dive right in, and you know, that gives you an even bigger platform to just open yourself even more, you know, then it's an even deeper conversation, which is always amazing. And then to be confident, and go for the question, what's your word? I love surprises. I love giving surprises. I love receiving surprises. And so sometimes in the past, you know, when I was beginning, I liked to sort of sneaky ask what's their word, you know, like what are you working on? What's happening in your life? You know, things like that. And that's amazing if you want to do that. Um, and I found that sometimes asking it like straight head on, it gives this person a sense of like their connection with their word is even deeper than something that I would have hoped for. So sometimes it's fun to do the surprise, and sometimes it's really powerful to just ask. Um, uh, Terry asked, what is considered old in terms of maker? If you've had this maker kit for over 6 months or something and you haven't used it yet, basically old is that you've used it for something else and that you haven't tried using it for another thing. That's all. We do have, I'll get to the technical parts of like differences in maker kits in a little bit, but going back to the conversation, when you connect and engage with the other person, um, Chris always likes to say we want to ask people more questions than we give answers, and so he likes to start with what's your word, and then following that up with your intention for the conversation. So it could be with your group, with your family, if you were doing like a virtual Thanksgiving or anything like that, um, to do it before the virtual call, so that your family sort of has an idea of what's going to happen. So to make your intention plainly clear, and then allow them to reflect on that, and just let that pause for a second. And then after the pause, so you've given them a moment to think about what their word is. If the word hasn't come up yet, if it's not bubbled up, then you can ask some follow-up questions. And these 3 follow-up questions are the 3 that I like to ask first. They're all just like conversation openers. So someone hasn't figured out their word, and I would ask, what's a quality or virtue you want more of in your life? And if that sort of is like a sort of confusing question or too big to kind of understand, then I would follow that up with who is someone you admire? You know, what about them do you admire? What are the characteristics that they embody? You know, and then it sort of opens that. I like to break it down a little bit more depending on how the conversation is going. And these questions are also on our word finder page. So these are the first 3 questions that sort of hit all the different types of buckets.
That.
The second question is, what is the challenge you want to overcome? And for me, this is the first of a couple questions, because first, you know, we want to talk about the obstacle in their life that they are faced with, right? What is keeping them from being the version of themselves that they want to be? And so after they talk about that challenge, then I would usually follow it up with, so what quality or what will help you go through that challenge? What will help you make it through this obstacle? And so it's again, feeling, not just talking about the challenge itself, but what's on the other side of it for them. You know, because that is the focus. That's where the vision wants to be. And the last question is, what's something that makes you feel alive and want to focus on? So this question is really talking about someone's passion, and really, again, sticking with feeling that you want to continuously create in your life, that will motivate you to create something new or different, you know, to be, what did I use before? I said I don't remember, but yeah, it's that idea of like, what can give you that that feeling over and over again in your life. And maybe with that, then whenever they see it in these moments throughout the day, they'll notice something that they're doing or something that they see that evokes that emotion. And so it doesn't have to be that activity, that passion itself, but something during their day that reminds them of it. And again, these are big questions that we are asking. And so there will be a little bit of an awkward silence, and that's okay. Embrace it, because I think when I was first asking people about their words and engaging in this way, I knew I wanted to like jump in and like ask them, because I feel them and I want to help and all these things. But it really is like that silence really isn't as awkward as we think it is. For them, it's just the pause they need. And allow yourself to be curious with your support and acknowledgement. So whatever stories that they share, make sure that you're allowing yourself to be there with them. And so asking questions like why, or would you want to share a little bit more? If it feels like they're sort of holding back, and so it's pretty amazing what comes after that. Would you want to share more? Because I feel like those are I've cried with people and laughed with people, and it's just a beautiful moment. And so how this pertains to a virtual Thanksgiving with family is, I think planning, number one, is it's gonna be your best friend in this, because sometimes the family dynamic, like my family, we have a really big family and we're all sort of jokesters. And so bringing this up then may not fit the vibe, I guess. But letting them know beforehand can give them that expectation that, I want to have a conversation of like learning about each other. And it'll also let them find their word beforehand. Or I think this is really cool. Some families have found like a family mantra where it's one word that everybody has, that everybody came up with together to sort of represent their family. And then whenever you get on this virtual call, or however you're connecting with them, I would definitely suggest opening it with a bit of gratitude, as it is Thanksgiving, and sort of something that we do in my family is share what we're grateful for whenever we see each other. Just like, I was asking what everybody was grateful for this year, what their word is this year, just to sort of get that motor going. And then again, let yourself be curious and have fun with it. I think there's something about being with family that allows us to be a little bit more relaxed than in a more professional setting or at an event or anything like that. Okay, so Janine asked, why can sometimes seem like a challenge to be the recipient, other questions may be better. Absolutely. Whatever questions that, that sort of, I like to ask how come sometimes, like, oh, how come this is like how come this is a challenge for you, and can you tell me more about this? Absolutely. Whatever way you want to form that question is great. And then Chandela asked, so are you saying we should find our word before the get together? I think some families, depending on how big your family is, it can be a good exercise just to ask them a question. So sharing what's your word, sharing your intention, and maybe a couple questions so that they can get the juices running. But you don't have to. Nobody has to really find their word beforehand, because that could be the fun of being all together. Just so that it's not a surprise whenever you're like, okay, we're all going to find our words of intention now, after everybody's eaten dinner and a little bit maybe sleepy belly. Um, but every family is different. And so you can definitely cater it to how your family dynamic is. So we also have in our maker kit the question cards. Has anybody looked at them, played with them, used them in any way? A little bit, I see. Okay. So these are our, I'm gonna take the sharing off for a second just so that I can show you. So these are our question cards. There are 33 meaningful questions. And if you're by yourself, I like to use them for journal prompts sometimes, whenever I'm feeling like I'm not exactly sure what I want to write down today. I also journal daily, so that's sort of just a practice of mine. In a family setting, in a virtual family setting, it could be fun to sort of start out that way because these are meant to be conversation starters, just like those 3 questions that I had mentioned before. They're really meant to be that first question to get to get everybody curious. So one question is, what risk are you happy that you took? So one person, you can ask that to one person, one member of your family, and then it could be, I'm happy that I took the risk and went back to school to get another degree or something. And then it's like, oh, why? Like, why are you happy that you took the risk? Where are you now? Things like that. What's come from that? What's the rewarding part of that? So just allowing that to be to build on each other and letting it sort of play out in your family. And then the way that I've heard a couple people play it is because there's only one card in the maker kit, so you'll probably be the host and you'll ask the question, and then you can let anybody answer, or you can pick a person to answer, and then that kind of starts the storytelling. And then that person who answered initially, they'll pick another person to answer a new question. So it's sort of like that string, that ball of yarn and that string, and you throw it to someone, and then they throw it to someone. So it sort of is like a connecting dots situation, and then everybody can share a unique story in that way. Does anybody have any questions so far? No? Okay, I'm gonna keep on going. So share my screen again. Okay, so going deeper, I think the biggest thing about the scariest thing about having these conversations with people, because they are very vulnerable at times, and sometimes it's like, trust your own intuition, because sometimes like someone will give you a word and and they know that that's not the word, and so you can ask a sort of some questions to help support them in maybe taking that deeper cut. And so I think this story is probably the most common one that I run into. So a lot of parents like to get their child's name on a bracelet, and that I think is beautiful and lovely, and I think sometimes that is their word, depending on the story that they share. Sometimes I do like to ask. So Chris's example here is that he was helping a mom, and she wanted her child's name, and then he asked, what quality does she want to have to be a great parent? And then she replied, courage. And so for me, what I like to ask people is like, how do your children motivate you? You know, like what about your kids motivates you every day? Or what quality do you want to embody that you want to teach your kids? You know, it's a lot of times it's, you know, kids, it's everything, right? They've become the world of those parents, and it's wonderful. And sometimes it's just breaking down that bigness into something a little bit more tangible, or something that can be, like I said, like you can see it in the day a little bit more easily. You know, sometimes, you know, the child's name is the perfect word for, you know, for just bringing a smile to their face every day, you know, and that's all they need. And so really it's up to you and how you want to navigate the conversation. Sometimes it is the name, sometimes it's something a little bit deeper, or something a little bit more like a feeling. And this question, or this sort of example is so we have people in our family that are up to big things, always doing the next thing, wanting to be successful and things like that. And so maybe the first word is success. And then what is success to you? That could be the question next. And that's something, because success is so wildly different to everyone, that maybe asking, oh, what does success look like to you? What does success feel like to you? That will help hone them in on their measure of success, and to be a little bit more specific in that way. And in this last one, so sharing a little bit about me, my sister is the smartest person I know, and she lives and breathes the work that she does. And so her word, I don't know what her word is now. I am going to find out on Thanksgiving. But she lives and breathes the work that she does. And so for me, my challenge is um, to ask her what would support her on this journey to continue to do the work that she does, or what would help her give herself a break. What does she need right now? You know, does she need to keep going at the rate that she's going, or does she need to remember that, you know, she needs to rest, or that, you know, every no that she says is a yes to something else, you know, to help shift that perspective. So this one, Chris's example is that his friend immediately replied, give work, which is, you know, the name of her book, and also the name of her nonprofit. And so he reframed the question to be, what would help you be able to give even more work? What would 10x your impact, essentially? And then for that, she replied, focus. So it's sometimes like the people that we love, we're so in it, you know, we're so in our projects, and we live and breathe and we see it every day, and we touch it every day, and we think about it all the time. And so what is that thing that will help us with that, you know? So let me know if you have any questions. These are my tips. My two big tips is, one, trust your intuition. Sometimes you need a deeper dive, and sometimes you don't. And I feel like you'll know it, because there's sort of this synergistic energy that happens when the perfect word comes up, and then you're like, wow, that was powerful. Wow, that was really cool, you know. And then two is have fun. The vibe and the energy that you bring into the conversation, that will allow that person to feel comfortable. if it's someone that you don't really know, or a friend or an acquaintance. With your family, usually having that fun is like, easy to do. So I say just allow yourself to be in the moment and just go for it. Okay, so does anybody have any questions on helping anyone find their word? Any specific questions on any situations I can help with? No?
Hi, Annie.
Hi.
Do you ever find that people are either defensive or shy or private or covering up their real feelings, where they might want to type a certain word, but they're somehow inhibited? And do you have any tips about how to get around that?
That is a great question. So for me, sometimes I'll find people who are shy or who don't want to necessarily give their word right up front. And then I'll just be like, you can journal about it, you can think about it, and then get back to me. Because sometimes, having this other person, makes them nervous for some reason, for any reason really. And so this is what so I've done this at events where I've had like a notebook or something, and I've allowed them to like take a piece of paper and then write it down and then come back later, and then I'll stamp their word. I know that for teachers and in classrooms and things like that, that writing it down is really what helps sort of focus in the kids, and then also like and allowing the teacher to sort of really see all of the different words and sort of emotions that come up with journaling. I think that's good for someone who's quite shy or nervous about having that. I think for someone who is a little defensive, I think that if it's for me, it can always be like, that's okay if you don't have a word. It's always here for you. Just think about it. It's no pressure. It's sometimes I think uh, whatever is happening in their life, it can be interpreted that, there's something wrong with me. And it's absolutely not the case. It's like, I just wanted to do this because I thought it was so fun. And for me, it's been like having a word has really helped ground me. And so sometimes with people who are a little bit more defensive, you can definitely share a little bit about yourself, about your story, and things like that. And that helps ease them into like, there's no judgment here. Yeah.
I don't want to monopolize the question, but just expounding on that same thought. We have a young nephew who's in college, and we just lost my dad a few months ago. So we're all going to be getting together. I'm wondering if, because COVID's been such a awful year, if someone wants their word to be a cuss word or something really snarky, how would you maybe handle that? Thank you.
It's also a good question, Jennifer. And also, I'm so sorry for your loss. Um, it is a tough year, and my heart goes out with you and your family. Um, so for your nephew, if he wanted a curse word or anything like that, I think the question would be, oh, how come? That's my first thought, oh, how come? Because sometimes, you know, if the answer is, because this is just life right now, because it's not a great life right now, then that could be an opening to being like, oh, so if life isn't good right now, like what would a good life look like? What are the positives that you can bring into life right now? So if it's a negative effect where it's like he's looking into the negativity space, then maybe shifting that into the positive space. If his answer is like, because that word makes me laugh, or it makes me not take life as seriously as I have been, then I feel like Sure. If that brings you light in your life, then that's not like I can't say that it's a bad word, you know, if it makes you giggle, you know. I've definitely had people at events just give me words I've never heard of before, but they're like, there's no reason. It just when I see it, it makes me giggle. And maybe that's that joy that they want to find in a day, and that's cool too. Yeah. But yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions? Those are great questions, Jennifer. Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna get on to stamping. I'm gonna show you the setup, and then I'll move my camera so then you can actually see me stamping, um, and and then I'll go through all of that. So in your maker kit, you have your question cards, which we went over, your hammer, your letter stamps, your stamping base, and I'm going to be stamping on a silver plated green twist. I love these twist bracelets. They're so secure. And something that doesn't come in your maker kit that I love using. This is what I have used in the past for quite a while. It's a stamping post. And so this is a 4x4 by about 3 feet. You can get it at any place that sells lumber, and you can ask them to cut it to this length. And the stamping base, I'll just put it right on there. And what this helps it with is one, noise. So if you've tried stamping on a table, you'll know it's very loud. So even if you stamp on a book on a table, somehow it's still very loud. So I highly, highly, highly recommend getting this. And if you don't have the access to like getting wood, but you can order online. I have a 15-pound anvil also, which I don't have with me because I used to bring it to events as well. Like if it's a smaller space and I only have a table, I'll put it on top of the table, and man, it's amazing. The noise is so low, and it also helps. These two things also help with impressions. Susie asked, how about a cement outdoor seat? Yes, cement is wonderful. If you have a cement block just laying around, yeah, that works perfectly too. The stamping post is a 4x4, and then the height is about 3 feet. We have instructions. So my stamping post doesn't have stable legs because I don't have the tools to do that, but we have instructions to create your own stamping post that I will also link in that email. And so you have your setup. And if you're doing this with your household or anything and someone else, my cousin, one of the years I brought it to Thanksgiving with my family, my cousin immediately took to it, and he was like asking everybody's question. He was like, I want to make all of the bracelets. So it was really cool that I just needed to have this out for him. But okay, so if you have the newer maker kits, so any maker kit after 2018, it'll come with this sticker on it already. If you have an older one, so something before November of 2018, then you won't have the sticker. The sticker is a wonderful addition upgrade to the maker kit. So if you don't have it, email me and we'll find a way to we'll figure it out and get you the sticker. It's amazing. So you're gonna put your bracelet onto the center peg of the stamping base, and we put string here so that you can see like where the bracelet string could could sit and how that's going to go. And so then I'm going to move us a little bit closer so that you can see. Okay. How's that for everyone? Okay, so the first thing is whenever, this is our letter stamps, right? So always, 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 you will always have the letter facing you. This will ensure that the letter is right side up and facing the right direction. And then what I like to do is I like to hold either like 3 fingers or 2 fingers on one side and then my thumb on the other side. And this middle peg of the stamping base is tall enough so that you can push the letter stamp up against the peg. And that will give you pretty consistent vertical spacing. So, and then I like to use my other 3 fingers, like touching the peg as sort of like an extension of the peg. And so I'm not strong enough to do this all in one stamp. I do like 3 or 4 taps to get my impression. And if you have your 3 fingers or 2 fingers, you anchoring the peg, then you won't get that double bounce sort of situation. And so here we go. And you'll always stamp in the center. So we have a little arrow right here that says stamp. So you'll always stamp in the center. So right up in the center with your letter and your fingers. And then here's that first, see that first little bit. And then what you're gonna do is rotate the token. So you're not gonna move, but you're just gonna make sure to rotate the token. And so the red line on the right side, or yeah, left side. If you're facing it, it's on the left. You're gonna rotate that. That should, we made it so that the middle of the letter, the red line should go through the middle of the letter. And that's the even spacing for your next letter. This letters are different widths. So like W is a wider letter than I is. And so these are just sort of guidelines. They're not set in stone by any means. And so each person has their own style. And so you can play around with how, if you want the letter to go right in the middle, or if you want it to be slightly wider apart. So you adjust where the red line goes, but then you'll get a feeling of how you like to stamp. And then I'll finish stamping this word. There you go. So I just stamped joy. And so I said we would be doing 2 words. And so where's my pen? Here we go. Can you see that? It says spread joy. I like to make this sort of drawing of the token and then sort of just map out how it'll sort of look. This is just like a very, very rough outline of how it would line up. And so we are working on making this into a template so that you can print it out and write down the letters yourself for people so that you don't have to do it on a Post-it and draw a token every time. But basically, this middle line is the middle of the token. And so joy is 3 letters long, and spread is 6 letters. And so you can see that it's not going to be a perfect line up, right? So the R is going to go in between the O and the Y, and then the E is going to go in between the J and the O. And so with that, I like to then you take your stamping base, how you had it with the higher ledge towards you, you just turn that 180 degrees, and then turn your token so that joy sits at the bottom where the strings are. And then I like to start with the middle. So oh, and there's also this dotted line, and that dotted line is there exactly for this reason, so that you can tell where the middle of the token is as you kind of visualize your spacing. R, and then P, and then S. And so this is an estimate of where it would go just based on how I rotated the token. And so then for the top letter, so you're gonna be, again, the letter stamp will be facing you. And then now my fingers are gonna be pushing against the peg, and then my thumb will be the anchor. And then just like we had that red line for the bottom letters, you have this blue dotted line right here, and that's how you will rotate your token. Let me know if you have any questions so far. I'm just going to finish doing this word. Okay. So this is my token. So it is not perfect by any means. You can see there's a double D right here. I double stamped here, but it does bring me to my next point. And this this recording will be available in our follow-up email. So don't worry about that if you have to go. But yes, if you are selling your bracelets, so you can become a certified maker. If you plan to sell your bracelets, then we really encourage you to use our tokens. So a lot of makers create their own bracelets, but they'll use our tokens, and that's all we really ask. Other than that, if you're using it for your family or your friends and you're just giving them away, then I think that it's really okay, whatever you choose. I would say that the quality of this token is like we put a lot of stock into making sure that our tokens are durable and but soft enough so that it's not too hard to stamp on. But yeah, I stand by our quality. I know I'm biased, but yeah, we've done quite a bit of research just to make sure that we're giving the easiest access to creating bracelets and tokens while still having a pretty high standard of quality. Yes, absolutely. And we also have our symbol stamps, and we've added a few of them. I'm very excited about those too. I'm gonna share a screen. I'm gonna share a story because I think that this is something that we I know that I run into a lot personally, and that is perfectionism. So I would say that it is my way of procrastination, right? I always want it to be perfect. And so then I keep working on it and keep working on it. And then, that's my way of being a perfectionist. And especially when it comes to stamping something that you're going to give to someone, or stamping something that you're going to sell, you really want it to be perfect. But I do want to remind everyone that this is hand stamped. So it will be human. I know that sounds a little odd, but it'll be unique and it'll have your own style. And, some days are better than others. Some days, I drink a lot of coffee and then decide to stamp for some reason. And that's never a good idea. And so, I need to calm myself down for a second. But we want to shift that perfectionism to focusing on that story, on that word that someone chose. Because it's just, that's the reflection. Like, I know this is going to sound funny, but like how you stamp that word always ends up being the reflection of the conversation. Like, that's what I found over the years. Whenever I'm at an event and then I have this conversation with someone, like, it always ends up being that way. And a lot of times, like, I also say finish the bracelet. So finish the token, the word, finish the entire word, and then look at it as a whole, because a little mistake here or there, it's probably unnoticeable by the other person. And in all the years that I've done this, 98% of the time, yeah, people don't notice, and or they love it because they think, wow, this is unique. This is even more one of a kind. And I think that's that special feeling that people want in an exchange. And so I want to share this story that Chris has, where he went to brunch and Conan O'Brien was in the restaurant, and he was like, oh my gosh. So then he goes up to Conan O'Brien and is like, I would love to stamp your word. I would love to give you a bracelet. And so Conan O'Brien is like, okay, my word is deathbed, which is a little bit morbid, but the story behind it is, I want to live my life in such a way that when I reach my deathbed, I have no regrets. There's nothing that I want to do anymore, or that there's anything that I regret have done before. So Chris goes and stamps this bracelet, and then he sees that, oh man, the E is backwards. And so then he goes to Conan and he's like, I'm sorry, I can make you a new one if you'd like, but this one, here's your bracelet, the E is backwards. And then Conan O'Brien's like, that's perfect. It's everything that I want, to live my life in this way. And so again, it's always going to be reflective of the conversation. And sometimes, like, I think that bracelet looks great. Like, it's a well-made bracelet, even if the E is backwards. So I think that we're our harshest critics. And so keep that in mind, when you're stamping. Does anybody have any questions on stamping itself?
Hi, yes, this is Beryl. I put it in the chat, but my question has to do with making sure that you don't spell, like with you said spread joy. So you get joy right, but that you spell spread backwards. I mean, is there a way that would happen?
Spread backwards?
Yeah, or if you did it upside down, or
like,
you know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh, like if I had done that. Oh, yes. Okay.
How do you prevent yourself from doing that?
So a trick in my brain. That is a great question, Beryl. So one, the letter stamp will always face you. And that's one way to ensure that the letters will be going, like, that it will be facing the same way.
Okay.
And then two, for spelling it backwards. So so joy, so that's the first letter of joy, right?
Mhm.
The first letters will always be on the same side. So whenever you're on your stamping base, make sure that whenever, because I have definitely done this before,
Oh, okay.
whenever you're turning it, make sure that you're
Right.
going closer to the J when you start,
Okay.
and then go that way.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
I've
you.
definitely started backwards before.
Right.
Daryl,
Right.
your question's great, because if you're doing two words, the letters are not always facing you. On the top side, they're opposite of you, right?
The letter stamp will always
Right.
face you. Because
But
you're
wouldn't it be upside down, facing the edge of the washer?
so
Did it that
so
way?
if you so if you do your bottom with the stamp arrow facing facing this way, so it's on your side, but it's facing this way, and then you do the top word, you turn the stamping base upside down, so then the letters don't have to go upside down. So you're stamping at the top, but the letter stamp will still face you.
But then they're going to read upside down.
No, so it'll read upside down if you continue to, if your stamping base is like this, and then you continue to turn. So if you're stamping on the bottom, then it'll be upside down because it's a circle. Does that make sense?
I'm confused.
Okay, I can do a very quick demonstration with.
Okay, please.
I think I know what she's trying to say. You're just going to turn that stamper, the thing up.
Yeah. So
Not the base.
so you're turning your base upside down so that you
Right.
don't have to change anything else. Yeah.
Right. So the letter will still face you. It's just the base has turned towards you.
Exactly. So then it'll be like this whenever you're stamping joy, so that if it's at the bottom, and then whenever you turn it upside down, right? So this was right side up, this is upside down. Joy will still face you. So then you're turning the letter upside down technically, but it will always face you. And then it'll sit on top of that center base, that center peg. I don't know if I am making people more confused at this point.
So basically, does it make more sense to say, when you're stamping the first word, the base where it says stamp is towards you, and then when you stamp the second word, stamp is away from you? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes.
I know.
Thank you.
Because all intentions and
Yeah.
everybody's got their word and it's backwards.
Maybe
And
that's
then-
our word.
Right, exactly. Right. Right.
We also have the 5 practice tokens
Oh, lovely.
in the maker kit. So like if you want to practice what it feels like to do 2 words with the stamping base like this, and then doing the way that I had shown just now, where you moved your stamping base, because I personally am a tactile learner, so like I had to figure it out for myself, even though I knew the technique of it, so that you have those practices in there too. Jennifer, does that clarify anything for you?
Thank you.
Yeah,
I think like you, I'm a tactile learner, and so I'm just going to have to practice.
Okay. Yeah.
Because from my idea is if I'm spinning it and the letters are still I'm still making them face me. When I see the bracelet and the 2 words, they're going to be upside down. But I liked your point about always making sure that the start of each word is on the same side.
Mhm.
But I'm still thinking that they're going to read like a reflection on the river. One's going to be going this way and one's going to be, mirrored it. So
yeah, I would say
I'll
that
have to just practice.
Yeah, absolutely. And just make sure that the the face of your letter stamp faces you.
Excuse
And I
me,
think as long as go ahead.
can you say that the top of the letters should be near should always be closest to the hole of the token? The top of the letter is at the closest to the hole in the token.
Not on the second word.
No.
Oh,
You're not rotating
That's
the
true.
token. You're taking it off, switching, turning the plate around, and then putting your token back on.
Okay, if you
Right.
did it on the
Right.
second word, it would be upside down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So,
I think the key there is to make sure that the first letter of each word, the top and the bottom word, are on the same side.
Right.
mhm. Yes. Wow. Awesome. Thank you,
I
everyone who jumped in. Oh yeah.
Wasn't the goal to just have one word usually and two words is kind of the exception?
So we've had people do short phrases, or it could be one word. I mean, for me, it's one word. But yeah, on our tokens, it can fit about up to 14 characters, including spaces. And so it can be a short phrase too. Some people like to use be as the second word, so like be brave, be still, be present, things like that, as their reminder. And I think that's okay too, but also depends on how they want the word. I did two words like that, like this, one on top of the other, because of how the bracelet is made with the strings. But for a necklace, you can just for a necklace or for a keychain, you can just keep rotating, and then because the chain will be on top like this, and so then they'll be able to see it like that. So it's just all in that artistic, creative, like play around. Yeah. And Beryl, thank you, and thank you everyone who chimed in. I know I'm just one person who only knows how to explain it the way that I explain it. So thank you so much for giving all of your perspectives. So we are about 10 minutes over. If you are able to stay, I have a couple of really great resources to share with you. Totally understand if you can't. Thank you so much for joining me. But I'm going to share my screen again, and then just get this quick tips. And so our Facebook Maker group, if you're not on there, this is a great resource. So this is, it's called MyIntent Makers. It's a community of almost like 15,000 makers from the beginning of MyIntent. And so there are people sharing, what they've created, all of these tokens, sharing their tips in their journey. If you have any questions, this is probably your fastest way to get an answer, because of however many years it's been. Searching the group for an answer there's always a ton of people sharing all of these answers. So that's your quickest thing. And it's also just cool to be witness and share your own story as well, and your own journey as well. And the second thing I wanted to share is the Maker Resource Center. So this is like your one-stop shop for all things Maker. We have onboarding so that you can share sort of your intentions, like making sure that you have everything that you would want. What's your word? So this is our word finder page. And then it will link to our word finder quiz. So if you wanted to share that with anybody, that's great. And then the helping someone find their word blog, which is what I went through today, but it's the whole blog, so you can actually read it if you like that. This is the gold. This is our how-to training guides. These are just sort of thumbnails, but if you click here for more training and instructions, it will go through everything that I went through so that you can see it if you're a visual learner, that you know, alignment, you can see the different depths. So the reason why I said the stamping base, because this is how deep you can get with it and stuff like that, and it'll go through the noise and everything like that. So these are just two of the many resources that we have. And if you have any questions, then I am here to answer your questions. I'm going to leave my email here, and then I see some people ask some questions, so I'm going to also answer them right now. Okay, so here we go. Betty says, I'm not sure how to use the cards. So I have, we also have a page on how to use our question cards that I'll also link in the email. And then we have split rings, but no split ring players. Can we open them? I'm not exactly sure, Amy, this question, if you want to elaborate on that.
Yeah, we have these little thingies to put on the little bracelet. I don't know if you can see them, but they're really tiny.
Uh-huh.
And all the videos that we've watched have used split ring pliers to open them up. But we don't have any of those.
Where did you get those split rings? From us?
I have no clue. My mom ordered them.
Oh, okay. So we
Don't
don't,
ruin your fingernail, but that works.
yeah.
You know, and I do some jewelry. I was going to say, if you want
Yeah.
on a split ring, you can use just some needle nose pliers.
Right. That's what I
Okay.
was thinking.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Michael's might have something. Michael's
Yeah.
you might be able to
Yeah.
find it at Michael's.
Yeah. And like the hardware department of like your grocery store might also have
Yep.
like simple pliers. And then Carol asked, do you have a template for fundraisers? Yes, we do. We do have like how to host a fundraiser. We have a worksheet, or not a worksheet, but sort of like a template for your order forms that I'll put that in there too. We have the how to host it online, and then how to host it like a pickup. So if you're doing it in person for like PTA or a school club or charity of some sort, and you're more in your local community, you can always do it in that way too, where people are picking up from you and then emailing you for things. The only thing with fundraisers or anything where you're exchanging money, we ask that you become a certified maker. It's free, it's quick, but it's just sort of practice for you to get stamping, and so that we sort of have sort of a level of quality, I guess. And that's just like anytime money is exchanged. So fundraising, selling, anything like that. Amy asked, you mentioned new symbols. Yes, so we have, this is the old one. I don't even have the new symbols, but we have our numbers and symbol stamps are new. So we added 9 new symbols. So we have, and we just added a cross symbol that you can buy by itself if you're, that was one of the popular requests over the last year. So that will be in our maker shop, which I can also link in our email. And does anybody have any last questions?
I would like to get that crossed before Thanksgiving. Is that possible?
Actually, it is, yesterday was our last, well, if you are willing to pay for shipping, then yes, but yesterday was our last,
Cutoff date.
yeah, for free shipping. But if you're willing to pay for shipping, then I think we can still, it'll make it there in time. Yeah. I'm going to stop the recording. Does anybody have any last questions?